Hello class, this is a presentation on Appendix E, the article by Ross Hainfler. The article is titled An Ethnography, Rethinking Subcultural Resistance, Core Values of the Straight Edge Movement. The presentation and handout was done by Abby, Chantel, Dilnoza, and Nick. Before we dive into the article, we wanted to pull a quote from the Hainfler article. Resistance is contextual and many-layered, rather than static and uniformed. We believe that this is the essence of what Hainfler was trying to get at in his research of the straight edge movement. Before we dive into the article, we want to give you a background of the straight edge movement. Just a quick overview. Straight edge is a subculture of hardcore punk whose members refrain from using alcohol, tobacco, and other recreational drugs. Also, they usually reserve sexual activity for caring relationships. Some of them adhere to the vegetarian diet, and some of them refrain from using caffeine or prescription drugs. Hainfler talks about a deeper meaning and why these members become a part of the straight edge movement. And basically, what he says is members of the straight edge movement do this because of a deeper resistance to mainstream values. So the mainstream punk scene involves, excessive use of alcohol, recreational drugs, and casual sex. But being a part of the straight edge goes against the norm. It gives the members a sense of self, involvement in social change, and an overall sense of community. Straight edge members are usually identified by an X on their hand when they go to punk rock concerts. A lot of them will have that X tattooed on their body somewhere, but the X really identifies members of the movement. So about the researcher, Hainfler became a member of the SXE movement prior to researching it. He was an active member and then became less involved as time went on, went and did graduate work and stuff like that. Within his graduate work, he became reacquainted with the movement and was able to study the movement from inside the society and with an outside perspective. Hainfler describes joining the straight edge movement as a way to get out of the alcohol-laden life that a lot of members of the punk rock scene get involved with. He says he despised feeling like he had to prove himself again and again by drinking excessively. And he could not understand why the coolest, most highly regarded men were often the ones who most degraded women. And also, his family history involved alcoholism, so he wanted to avoid his relatives' destructive patterns. He also liked the straight edge involvement in progressive politics, activist organizations, and those all connected with his interests in social justice and environmentalism. So Hainfler gathered data through a longitudinal participant observation with straight edgers from 1996 to 2001. Mostly these participants were area high school and university students from middle-class backgrounds. Over the years, the author observed many straight edge members and interviewed approximately 60 people in the local straight edge scene. And 30 members and non-members were associated with the metropolitan hardcore scene. His interviewees were both male and female. Most of his observations took place at hardcore shows and while socializing with straight edge members over a period of 14 years. Interviews took place in the participants' homes and other quiet places where these subjects could feel like uninhibited and they could speak freely. To learn from a variety of individuals, he selected straight edgers with different levels of involvement in the scene. These included new members, old members, and individuals who made the movement central or peripheral to their lives. Sometimes to get referrals, he used the snowball method. To record and organize his data, he took brief notes at shows and other events with his interviews, and immediately afterward expanded into more full field notes on his personal computer. Like was said before, through this research, Hainfler wanted to prove that subcultures focused on resistance have many layers rather than the misconception that they are fixed and unchanging. He gives an example saying that the straight edge movement's core values reflected a very curious blend of conservative and progressive influences. Hainfler goes on to say that members of youth subcultures like the straight edge movement understand their resistance at the macro, meso, and micro levels. On a macro level, straight edgers rejected aspects of a culture they believe marketed alcoholism, tobacco products, and established the use of these as a norm. On a meso level, straight edgers focused much, if not most, of their message towards their fellow youth. And finally, on a micro level, straight edgers reported resistance as they rejected the substance abuse within their families and made changes in their individual lives. We believe that this was a typical ethnographic study. Just to give you a little background, as most of you should know, the common ethnographic approach is participant observation as a part of field research. The ethnographer becomes immersed in the culture as an active participant and records extensive field notes. Hainfler does just that. He dives into the straight edge movement. He was a part of the straight edge movement. He understands the culture, and he comes back and does research as an outside party as well. In conclusion, we really enjoyed the Hainfler article. He was able to give the reader an inside look into the straight edge subculture, and the article really was rich with detail and insight. We personally found ourselves immersed in the straight edge world and the first-hand accounts from many of the members. Just personally, we feel that the background of the author and his history with the particular subculture gave the article a little more credibility, in our eyes anyway. He made this ethnographic research very personalized, inductive, and holistic. We also note that Hainfler has written and researched many more straight edge movement articles and has published a lot more on the straight edge movement. Here's our references. And finally, we're here to answer any questions that anyone might have. Once again, we really enjoyed the article. We enjoyed working with one another, and we hope you and the rest of the class enjoy this presentation. Thank you.